Benji and Rhoda, great to see you. You've made it back safely to Rains Park. Lots of people were praying for you to make it out of Mozambique. Tell us kind of what happened.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for all your prayers. We've been very grateful for them. It was all a bit touch and go. Benji and I had just been on a month's visit to a project in Malawi, and we were trying to get back to our home in Weda in northern Mozambique. And we did get to within a 1 day's drive of it, despite borders closing because of COVID and quarantine restrictions and various countries declaring states of emergency. But then the conflict in our own province really ramped up, and our mission and others felt that Benji and I and our son Sebastian should leave because of the COVID situation, and also because our hometown was too dangerous to live in. So then we had a very short window of opportunity to get out before the borders closed. Benji was able to fly up to our town Weda in a small plane and to deliver some food and money and to see friends and to pick up some documents and valuables, and then we were just able to leave Mozambique before the flights all stopped. And after an unscheduled quarantine in Ethiopia, we got safely back to the UK and are now here in sunny Rains Park.
Brilliant, well done. Good to have you back. Benji, I wonder if you could just tell us a bit more about the conflict. Lots of us will have seen things in the news about ISIS and Boko Haram, but probably not heard much about Mozambique. What's it been like?
Thanks, Pete. I'm going to share a screen. So there's Mweda in the province of Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, and it's where we've lived for 25 years, a little more, where we translated the New Testament and portions of the Old Testament, which are now being widely used. During all that time, we've been at peace. But in the last couple of years, a violent conflict has broken out, and the reasons for that conflict are quite complex and multiple. But Global International said recently that when the conflict broke out in 2017, many observers pointed to Cabo Delgado's neglect by the national government, systemic corruption and economic grievances as driving the insurgency and creating fertile ground in which it could take deeper root. The discovery of oil and gas in the region and a number of illegal activities which seem to be controlled by the ruling elite have only increased that sense of anger and exclusion. So the conflict began in 2017. For the first couple of years, it was largely confined to the coastal region, but very brutal. So the insurgents would go in randomly, it seemed, and attack villages, behead people, burn houses and move out. But then earlier this year, it rapidly escalated. The Islamic State got involved and leading and training people, equipping them, and the attacks are increasing and spreading. So that's a map showing the attacks earlier this year. You can see Mweda and then the attacks in the coastal zone there. And it's increasingly following the pattern set by Boko Haram in Nigeria and Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So this year, the jihadists, as they're now called, declared that they would be killing any people who don't convert to Islam in the areas which they control. So now there's an exodus of people. About 200,000 refugees now have moved through Mweda down to Pemba and further south. Yeah, so a very turbulent, violent region now, which is where our home is.
Thank you for sharing that, Benji. That's really helpful for us to pray for Mozambique. And Rhoda, I wonder if, would you be able to tell us more about the ministry and the projects that you guys are involved in, and where do things stand at the moment?
Yes, well, Benji and I are Bible translation consultants in Southern Africa, which means essentially that we help Bible translation projects to get their translations as good as possible. And at the moment, we're mainly involved in helping two projects, the Yao project in Malawi and the Kwanza Sul project in Angola. The Yao project is very rewarding to work with because it's part of a community-based outreach in a very big Muslim group, and there's lots of things going on. So there's improving farming, there's football clubs, there's helping elderly widows, and there are small groups all over the community meeting together to read the Bible. And our job is to help the team provide the scriptures for this evangelism and discipling. The Kwanzaa Sul project in Angola is in a very different and very tricky situation. It's a relatively new project. It's only been running for about 3 years, and it's in a very rural area. And there's been some wonderful fruit in seeing people become Christians through hearing and through learning by heart the Bible stories that have just been translated. But the funding has just stopped, come to an end, and the Angolan Bible Society and the funders are in discussion at the moment on how to and even whether to continue the project. So Benji and I are trying hard to help in that process, and we're very keen that the gospel outreach and the community involvement that have been such a valuable part of that project shouldn't be abandoned in favor of more easily quantifiable goals. But it's a very tricky situation, and the future of the project is quite unknown at this point.
Guys, it's great to hear from you. How can we best be praying for you and partnering with you?
So I've prepared a slide, which I think will come up later, showing some prayer points for the province of Cabo Delgado, with the war situation there, for the project in Kwanzaa Sul, for a way to go forward, and for us, for reflection on our home in Weda, for a new place in Southern Africa, for us to find a new place in Southern Africa where we can continue to work. And a verse which has been very important to me is in Psalm 119, verse 165, which I put up as well. There is great peace for those who love your law. They have nothing that can make them stumble. And that's been something which I've held on to during this uncertain time.